Hermvids with Mr. President. Educational videos about reading and writing. Show, don't tell. What does that mean? Let's find out. This is our sixth skill for the Creative Writing 2 Storytellers unit, and the subject of our skill is showing, not telling. Now, I took most of this information from a website called Creative Writing Now, and I recommend you visit it because it's got a lot of great creative writing advice. I have the copyrights included at the bottom of the page in case you're interested. We kind of talked about showing versus telling in Creative Writing 1, but we're going to expand upon it for Creative Writing 2. And here's how I want you to think of it. Good writing, mainly fiction writing, does something called showing instead of telling. Telling is kind of a lazy way to write. It's when you simply come out and just state something using a minimal amount of words and a minimal amount of details. Showing is when you are using your frame of reference, your details, your imagery to guide the audience along instead of telling them and kind of insulting their intelligence. So let's read what Creative Writing Now has to show us. Writing fiction is like trying to convince someone you're cool. As in, the best tactic might not be to walk up to that person and say, "Hello, I'm cool." No, instead you choose cool clothes, you show up with cool friends, and make sure they mention cool things you've done. You'll seem a lot cooler to someone who thinks they've discovered your coolness for themselves. That's what a good writer does when they're introducing a character. They don't just tell you that this character is smart, this character is cool, this character's angry. They add details to show you, to reveal it. How does this apply to fiction? If you tell a reader something, the reader has to take your word for it. But if you show it to the reader, then the impact is a lot more powerful. So here are some examples of showing versus telling. Telling a reader would be saying, "Lois was a horribly messy person." That doesn't add much detail to it. That doesn't really contain the parameters of good writing. Here's an example of showing that same content, but with detail and dialogue. "Hey, there's my sandwich," Lois exclaimed triumphantly, spying yesterday's meatball sub protruding from the heap of dirty laundry in the back seat of the car. All those little details there show you not just how messy she is, but also what type of personality she has. She is triumphantly exclaiming. Those examples of diction there really show Lois to be kind of a silly person. And the meatball sub protruding from a heap of dirty laundry provides a great visual as well. That gives you so much more information than just saying she's a horribly messy person. So in your mind, you can think of the opposite of this. Instead of saying Lois was a messy person, how would you do the same thing with Lois being a compulsively neat person? What details have you seen in compulsively neat people? What have you seen them do? What do their rooms look like? What do their clothing look like? All these details could be great tools for you when you are writing your stories. Here's another example. Instead of saying it was a hot day, which provides essentially no detail, you could show it was a hot day. Her shirt stuck to the small of her back and sweat rolled down her thighs as she trudged across the parched grass to the porch, where a collie panted in the thin shadow offered by the rocking chair. All those details paint a great picture in your mind using imagery, of course, and it's so much better than the first one. Here's some advantages to showing versus telling. It is a more interesting read when you're writing showing fiction instead of telling fiction. Telling is almost more like an elementary school story, whereas showing is a college level or high school story. Number two, it creates a sharper mental picture, as we saw in that last example. Number three, it provides more information. It can show you what type of the weather it is. It gives you so much specifics that you can't help for it to come alive in your mind. Number four, it's convincing. If I say it was a hot day, you'll probably trust me. But if I say Lois is horribly messy, You may wonder if she's really as bad as I'm claiming. That gets back to the unreliable narrator that we're talking about with the point of view. It's possible to do more than one thing at a time when you're showing. You could simultaneously show two parts of a character, or the character and how hot it is, their reaction to the hot temperature. Let's figure out what our practice is going to be for this unit. You're going to take these telling examples and you're going to expand upon them with details and imagery and diction by showing them as a good writer would.